Hello, and welcome to the 48th video in my Punishing Graven lore series. Today we will cover the 32nd chapter of the main story, To the Galaxies. Previously, Lucia and Commandant infiltrated the Hetero Tower, journeying from the modern era to the Golden Age. Throughout the tower and across time, they battled against Vonnegut, who was revealed to be a fusion between Professor Trout and Nemo, and Cradle, serving as the reborn Agent Zero. In the end, both Cradle and Vonnegut were defeated, and Chaos, having taken Agent Zero's authority, sealed herself within the tower to delay its inevitable collapse. After escaping the Hetero Tower, Lucia and Commandant were greeted by a desolate world unlike their own, and due to the tower's influence over time, 30 years had passed outside. Babylonia abandoned the Earth, the Red Tide laid claim over the planet, and Lucia had succumbed to her injuries. Next, we see how Commandant navigates a world without his most trusted partner, revisit Nanami's plans with the Church of Machina, and discover a hope to mend a future already broken. Now without any further delay, Chapter 32, To the Galaxies. Following Lucia's death, Commandant and her frame were transported to the ARU, humanity's last stronghold. Now, what's left of humanity struggles at the very edge of the world, fighting against a continuously mutating variant of the Red Tide. After a recent battle, Vanessa heads back into town, finding Commandant out of his bed and standing in the center of a courtyard, his hands tracing names written on a stone monument. Even as she calls out to him, his world remains out of focus. The only thing he sees are the names carved in stone. Some he knows, others he doesn't, but each one is a testament to 30 years of struggle. Without Lucia, this world doesn't feel real. Memories flash through his mind, refusing to accept this new reality. Breaking the haze, Vanessa slams her fist into the stone. The entire settlement, the rest of humanity, all depend on her, and it's been that way for 30 years. The day Babylonia left for deep space, the day she underwent conversion, and every single day after, she's been watching comrades die one after the other. It's an unfortunate truth of their world, and she can't waste time on someone who won't accept that truth. After a moment, Commandant picks up a stone and begins carving a message into the rock. This is the epitaph of Lucia and the Grey Ravens. We once existed in this world. We once fought to reclaim Earth. We are Grey Raven. As the sun sets, exhaustion takes over. When he wakes up, he will have to accept this new world. After all, he made a promise. So long as he draws breath, giving up isn't an option. The next day, Commandant finds Vanessa and Emma going over their losses. He remembered his purpose and the promise he made to save humanity. He tells them everything that happened within the tower, including his possession of the tower's core. Before they can even begin to study the core, they need to solve their immediate problems on the front line. He looks over their deployment map and finds a strange opening in their defenses. Even though no one has been sent out to that mountain, Vanessa tells him they don't need to worry about the tide coming from that direction, as that place is guarded by Luna herself. Atop the mountain, Luna can sense the agitation of the punishing virus around her, a warning of the impending Red Tide. She defeats the Hetero creatures and returns to her spot, only to see someone she never expected. "30 years ago, when Commandant and Lucia entered the tower, the possibility of failure never even occurred to those waiting outside, until the tower turned red. Luna and her ascendants heard the news from refugees, and even noticed the disappearance of Cradle. Without a conscious administrator, the Red Tide went out of control, devouring every conservation area between it and the Hetero Tower. Luna tried to take control, but the Tide rejected her authority, and after a number of failed attempts, she discovered another massive consciousness, Chaos. Luna tried to communicate with her, but as time passed, Chaos lost more of her sanity, until her mind was no longer stable enough to control the Tide. In the years that followed, Luna used most of her strength to simulate possible outcomes, searching for a variable the Ascension network overlooked. In the end, her searching amounted to nothing, and the price she paid was her sight. Just like in the simulations, Roland died the first night the snow fell. After that, Lamia went to gather information from across the ocean. She never returned. Eventually, she and Alpha arrived on this mountain, and Alpha left to eliminate nearby hetero-creature strongholds, promising to come back. Their number and strength even surpassed Alpha's expectations, but Luna promised to stand watch, waiting for the sister who will never return. Commandant tells her about his journey inside the tower, and mentions the core, but Luna is far too weak to offer aid. She spent nearly all her strength looking through the future, and it takes everything she has just to suppress the virus around the settlement. Although, if there's any hope left in the world, it's with the variables the network couldn't predict. Two things she never saw in any future. One of those being Commandant's exit from the tower. The other, a mechanoid girl with gray hair, and the machines under her leadership. This information is the only lead she can give. Luna tells him to leave before his suit is breached by the virus, and after thanking her, he heads back down the mountain. While going over what he learned from Luna, he and Vanessa see a trail of footprints in the snow, and at the end is a mechanoid with a signature black hat. They follow him through the forest, watching him move from warehouse to warehouse, looking for something. They sneak behind him as he digs through the stored items, retrieving a small black bag. The two corner him and ask about Nanami, but receive no helpful information. To not make a needless enemy, Commandant lets him go, and seeing this display of charity, Cervantes opens up. From his perspective, Commandant had been gone for over 3 decades. He had to be sure he was still the same kind person Sage once knew. He tells them that long ago Sage left Earth, taking the rest of the church with her. Originally, she intended to wait until Commandant left the tower to make her choice, but her simulations told her a war with humanity was inevitable, so she made her choice early. Together they head to Aerospace City to find Rosa, and Cervantes explains everything that happened with the church, and what he came to find. When Sage left, she continued her simulations, looking for a way to save humanity, but recently he lost contact with her and the ship. Their last communication was a recording she sent, telling him if Commandant ever returned, to give him the warehouse key she left behind, and that key is what Cervantes was looking for. Together they arrive at Nanami's warehouse and find the full sensory simulation device, the same one used to open Dominic's invitation. The problem is there's no Babylonia, and that means no Gestalt. They don't have a system with enough computing power to run this machine. And while discussing alternatives, Vanessa suggests they use Hwashu. Kowloon only sent a small portion of their population to Babylonia, so it's likely Hwashu would have stayed in Kowloon. But this plan hinges on the idea that Kowloon still exists in this current world. With no other option, they decide to take the risk. After all, they have no alternative. Many years earlier, on a day like any other, Pulau, Zesher, Chu, and all of Kowloon lived and worked, completely unaware of the calamity headed their way. When they least expected, the red tide surged throughout Kowloon, unchecked even by the light wall. The tide mutated at a speed beyond human comprehension, and now more than half of its structure couldn't even be analyzed. Due to Hwashu's predictions, Chu was prepared for this outcome, but a means of salvation remains out of reach. As the citizens evacuate to the lower levels of Akasha, Chu gets a call from Babylonia. Celica informs her of Babylonia's decision to leave Earth. As such, all surviving humans and constructs have the right to join the evacuation, dubbed Operation Departure. A small number of Kowloon citizens are sent to Babylonia to preserve the legacy of Kowloon out in the greater universe. Those who choose to stay meet predictable fates and are uploaded into Akasha. In the end, even Pulau is forcefully uploaded, and Chu locks the gates of Akasha, standing guard as Kowloon's eternal sentry. After 13 years of silence, 3 signals appear on her radar, and a flash of light cuts through the blizzard. After years of Hwashu simulations, Chu never saw Commandant exit the tower, no matter what variable she added, and just like Luna, she's come to the conclusion he must be some singularity in this future. Without time to spare, they fill her in on their plan, and with her approval, they secure the computing power needed for the simulation device. Rosa starts the machine, and Commandant finds himself in front of a pink-haired construct holding a pair of dice. She asks Commandant a question. In the end, will he make the same choice, or will things turn out differently this time? As his world goes dark, Hwashu's voice fades away. His mind beacon is hijacked, and he finds himself connected to Nanami's memories. Cervantes told him that Nanami got lost in her many simulations, and connecting to her means Commandant has become lost with her. Now his goal is to find her main consciousness, and pull her out of this ocean of simulations. This is the start of another long journey. Having retrieved a mechanoid called the Star, another awakened machine, Nanami returns to the church. Arcana informs her of the Red Tide's mutation, and that the other members of the church have been sent out to collect the rest of the machines. Prior to this mutation, the Tide couldn't harm mechanoids outside direct contact, but this mutation has allowed it to consume even semi-awakened machines, and Xavier has theorized this mutation was caused by events within the tower. Nanami runs off to Xavier's workshop, but Arcana refuses to let her escape this conversation. The Grey Tower is ready for departure when necessary. The starship materials have been gathered, and the mechanoids themselves are getting restless. On top of all these issues, Wheel of Fortune has joined the Emperor and betrayed the Church, believing the Earth should have long since been inherited by the machines. Nanami pulls out a frame storage pod, and finally answers Arcana. She wanted to stay on Earth with all the people she cares for, but she's out of time. Even after breaking into the tower, she couldn't find Commandant. Now there's only one move she can make, and that's leaving. Suddenly the Star bursts into the room, warning everyone of the Tide's arrival. Nanami leaves to handle the situation, making this the debut of her new frame. Along with the remaining members of the church, Nanami leaves for the outer sections of the Grey Tower, rescuing the humans and awakened machines trapped by the Tide. During the fighting, Haikma and Trailblazer made it back to the church to help with the evacuation. Much to Trailblazer's displeasure, they failed to save some mechanoids, due to Nanami's insistence on helping humans. She decided to do something unprecedented, having humans coexist with machines inside the church. As time passed, the other members of the church gathered to relay news of the outside world, and with the situation worsening, Nanami decided to relocate the church further north to escape the Tide. Under Nanami's command, the church slowly transforms the Grey Tower into a capable spacefaring vessel. Tensions still remain high, but for the time being, humans and machines still maintain a fragile balance. None of the other machines can understand her desire to help humanity. They war, cheat, steal, and exploit every resource available to them. But what she doesn't do for some grand plan. She just loves humans. Humanity's love gave birth to the machines, and she sees no problem in extending some of that love back to humanity. She isn't big on vague philosophies and large ideals. Her principle is simple. She will be kind to those who are kind to her. She looks out the window as the starship gradually nears completion, and Haikma picks up on her sadness. Nanami never wanted to leave Earth, but the mutated Red Tide and the appearance of chaos has left her with no choice, but she doesn't fear what comes next. Both humanity and the machines will find their way towards tomorrow, even if she has to forge that path herself. Thanks to Xavier's preparations, the ship is completed ahead of schedule, and Nanami continues to gather stranded humans and machines. Drawn to the increasing number of life forms, the Tide closes in on the Grey Tower, and floating above it is a girl carried by black wings. Having received warning of the Tide, Nanami springs into action, chasing chaos to an abandoned warehouse. Nanami asks about Commandant, and the mention of his name brings back some temporary sanity. Chaos tells her Commandant left the tower, but with it being in such poor condition, there's no way to tell what time he will appear. As for the current state of the Red Tide, the most she can do is speak a few fragmented words. Recycle, civilization, information, and that it's too late to stop it. As chaos melts back into the Tide, Nanami rushes back to the ship. Without any coordinates to know what time period Commandant will appear, her goal is nearly impossible. Due to the Tide's arrival, several of Xavier's warehouses were consumed, and worst of all was the loss of a reactor. With their current fuel, there's no way they could make it into space, so they decide to continue with their plan to head north. They will travel to Aerospace City to hopefully make use of the Bifrost to launch themselves into deep space. As the ship glides over ruins, Nanami can feel that pull of destiny. She knows the outcome of that future. The machines leave for space to spare humanity, and she becomes the core of discovery. Everything is moving towards that predetermined path. While lost in thought, Hikma steps in to report the current situation. Babylonia and the other human factions are in full retreat, and in one of the abandoned conservations, she and Spooner found a group of trapped humans and mechanoids. Suddenly, there's an explosion from the lower levels of the ship, the same place where that rescued group is being held. A corrupted managed to sneak into the supplies brought on board, and it nearly infects the star. Together with a human woman named Berna, they manage to distract and evade it long enough for Nanami to arrive and eject the corrupted off the ship. This new home is a shared one, and after this incident, even the most anti-human mechanoids are slowly beginning to open up. It may be slow, but day by day they can bring about change. Arcana asks how Commandant, an ordinary human, is responsible for this level of belief within Nanami. When Nanami corrects her, Commandant is far from an ordinary human. He is a beacon that connects everything, the only constant in the shifting waves of time. And even if none of that was the case, he's Nanami's special friend. While on the ground conducting her normal rescue operations, Nanami encounters a Babylonia squad and a strange new type of hetero creature. After being rescued, this squad contacts Babylonia, informing them of a new type of hetero creature, one that can mimic human vital signs, luring in and ambushing rescue teams. After hearing this, Nanami joins the call and learns about Babylonia's plan to leave Earth. Since she has a positive relationship with Babylonia, she agrees to help. While traveling, the church will locate human survivors and assist in Babylonia's rescue operations. In exchange, she wants the starship blueprints and experimental data so they can complete discovery. As acting president, serving during Hassen's hospitalization, Celica approves this deal. Shortly after the meeting, Babylonian transports arrive to take the human survivors. Nanami asks about the other human factions, but Kowloon went radio silent after sending their transports, and Bridget herself was sent to help the Forsaken. When she arrived, the hundreds of survivors were reduced to mere dozens, and Watanabe sacrificed himself to save the final residents of Oasis. After hearing the fates of her old friends, Nanami gives control of the operation to Hikma. She wants to find a facility with enough computing power to contact Gestalt one last time. She needs to know if this path still leads to her desired future. The tide has devoured all her old connection locations, and after the fourth failure, she encounters an unexpected visitor, a construct with pink hair. As a Babylonian construct, Ishmael has come to help with the evacuation, and with some time to spare, she lends Nanami an ear. If Nanami's life was the only one on the line, she'd be more than happy to stay on Earth with humanity, even if it guaranteed her death. But in her hand, she holds the life of every mechanoid in the church, and can't make that decision for them. Whether this world leads to her desired future or not, time will continue to flow, and tomorrow will come all the same. Ishmael takes out a pair of dice, watching as they roll in her hand, and comes to a conclusion. This world might not be hopeless after all. Hearing this, Nanami's mood improves. Who's to say there's only one method of saving humanity? While she speaks, Ishmael watches the die turn in her hand. There might still be hope for this future, although saving it is still a near impossibility. But making the impossible happen is what Commandant does best. And if Nanami refuses to give up, nothing can stand in their way. By the time she turns around, Ishmael has disappeared, and having found what she was looking for, Nanami leaves for the computing center. Once again, Nanami connects to Gestalt and begins simulating possible futures. Even with the new variables of chaos, the mutated red tide, and the possibility of leaving Earth, nothing changes. The world is frozen over, or consumed by the tide, or overrun by machines. She does simulation after simulation, but the conclusion always remains the same. The punishing will always catch up and humanity will end. She has Gestalt start another simulation, but this time uses the hypothesis Commandant escapes the tower. But that assumption is beyond Gestalt's calculations, and as such cannot be included. Nanami realizes Gestalt is not omnipotent. It's not that the solution doesn't exist, it's just outside Gestalt's capabilities. Humanity's odds have risen from 0.031 to 0.072%. Their chance of survival has more than doubled. Nanami's level of awakening has exceeded even Gestalt's parameters. She can no longer simulate the possibilities Nanami imagines. Needing to focus on Operation Departure, Gestalt severs the connection, telling Nanami to make her own choice. According to Ishmael, that human singularity is out there in the world. That singular chance of humanity's survival still exists. For now, she will follow Gestalt's plan and become the Sage, leading the machines further into the universe. But she will leave a piece of herself behind, for Commandant and humanity, as her one last act of selfishness. After returning to the church, the remaining humans are relocated to Babylonia, and they begin their journey into deep space. Many humans choose to stay behind, refusing to abandon the home they've given so much for. With Han Ying's help, the church makes a deal with Aerospace City, trading space aboard the ship for materials to activate the Bifrost. A number of mechanoids also choose to stay on Earth, using Aerospace City as their new home. Cervantes is among those who choose to stay, and Nanami tasks him with keeping these materials she's gathered safe, holding on to them in preparation for Commandant's return. The DeLorean Discovery takes off at 1/3 light speed as the planet they once called home fades away. Over many years, Nanami becomes one with the Discovery's core, splitting her consciousness in half, allowing her to manage the ship and simulate the future all at once. Even if she loses her anchor and becomes lost in the simulations, the ship, mechanoids, and humans aboard will eventually reach their new home, even if she's not there to see it. The more she integrates with the Grey Tower, the more she's able to process. She knows the goal of the Punishing is to harvest Earth's civilization, and as a civilization born on Earth, the machines can't run away forever. She dives into that endless ocean of information, searching for the one thread that will lead her where she wants to go. After a near infinite number of failures, her consciousness wears thin, lost in calculations. She no longer knows where to go or what to do, when the voice of an old friend calls her name. Unknown to her, Commandant has been there, watching, through 30 years of memories, every struggle and every decision she's made. All the while he calls out to her, trying to breach that barrier that keeps them apart. Bit by bit, that barrier cracks open, smashed by a hand that reaches across time and space. As if no time had passed at all, Nanami celebrates Commandant's win. He found her first. After catching up, their next step is to find their way back to their correct time. Having become a Gestalt-level machine, Nanami now has the processing power to handle these simulations, but lacks an anchor point to know what reality is her own. Commandant suggests he be her anchor. With the strength of his mind, and as the center of all those bonds, the human singularity he is could be what leads them back home. Together they travel through many worlds, arriving in a frozen city as Nanami greets a familiar face she calls Snipey. Together they walk through a frozen city, coming across a recreation center created for humans. Nanami once promised to bring a human one day, and that day has finally come. After a short break, she takes Commandant's hand, and they run across the snowfield. They can't stay for long, or else Commandant's consciousness would erode. This future was built on the premise of Imperia failing, and that doesn't align with the future she wants to create. She approaches that past version of herself, and closes this timeline. With Commandant as her anchor, they pass through numerous alternate possibilities, worlds where the Heterozone covered the planet, where Kratos wiped out humanity, and even futures where Discovery found Babylonia in deep space, only to find the colony ship devoid of life. In nearly a billion worlds, she fails to stop calamities, fails to find the right path, fails to save a friend's life. This is her experience as a failed time corrector. Hand in hand, she leads him through dead timelines, when a sudden force rips him away. When the light fades, he finds himself on a busy street, one he's never seen. His eyes have been replaced by a visual module, and his voice comes out as static. A young Nanami appears in front of him, and she decides to bring this new mechanical friend back home. During the connection, Commandant's mind beacon misaligned, placing him into this robotic body and anchoring him to this younger Nanami. After a day of playing, Nanami's parents take this robot inside, hoping to study its abnormal behavior. While inside the lab, Nanami's parents are speaking to a third person, who turns out to be Dominic. Commandant voices his shock through a series of beeps, and to his surprise, Dominic seems to respond, telling him he shouldn't be here at this point in time. Commandant's appearance means his plan to stop the mimetic failed. Sensing Commandant's confusion, Dominic clarifies that he isn't the true Dominic. He's just a person who opened the invitation, inheriting the name. Every Dominic throughout history has tried and failed to stop the mimetic, and not once has this crisis been averted. No matter how hard they try, the Crimson Tower will appear, and Earth will be consumed. Commandant has many questions, but receives no answers. The original Dominic entered the tower to retrieve the core, got lost in the fog, and never returned. As far as this Dominic is aware, that core might lead them to the solution, but even this is speculation. Breaking the silence, Dominic packs his bag and prepares to leave. Commandant tries to call him back, but the truth is, Dominic was never able to understand him. Every reply was based on his prediction. As he walks out the door, the last thing he says is to let him fade away, that history should only remember him as a nameless madman, someone who brought ruin to the world. As time passed, Nanami's parents accept the presence of this little robot. Together, he and Nanami talk about whales in the ocean, as Commandant nurtures this soul that will one day become Nanami. Quite some time passes, long enough for those days to blend together and blur, when out of nowhere another voice calls out to him. Nanami, the true Nanami, makes her appearance, covered in brand new wounds from her journey to find him. They can't wait much longer. If they waste any more time, Commandant's body on Earth will suffer. This young Nanami is sad to see her new friends leave, but Commandant tells her whenever she misses them to look at the stars. From above, they will always be watching over her. The girl places a flower crown on Commandant's head, a perfect memory. Did these events actually happen? At this point, Nanami can't remember anymore. Her early memories have degraded many times over. But to her, it would be better to think all of this was real. After another lifetime's worth of traveling, they escape the infinite sea of parallel worlds, and they arrive back where it all began, the DeLorean Discovery. Hikma welcomes the two from their long journey, and guides them to the Nanami of the future, a fully realized Sage Machina. Commandant and Nanami step through the door as they meet the Sage, their silent ally from far in the future. Vonnegut once mentioned a civilization with no life, and this is it. Nanami in this place is what lies beyond the gate Vonnegut mentioned. Despite being alive, Commandant was able to pass through because of his connection to Nanami, and with a little bit of universal cheating, she managed to bring him past the gate. In no other future did he escape the tower, so she has no problem bending the rules to see how far this timeline can go. In recognition for their efforts, Nanami offers them each a reward. Nanami, like always, wants humans and machines to live together on Earth, and Commandant wants the one goal he's fought for all this time, the method for humanity's survival on Earth. Nanami has little faith in that timeline. Humanity has been marked. Agent Zero still exists and maintains control of the Hetero Tower. As long as this remains true, there is no viable solution. This is a mission that even Dominic failed to complete, but Dominic never accounted for this Nanami's intervention. Commandant and everyone else has come too far to give up now. They all carry the burden of life and will fight for their tomorrow. So many have given their lives holding on to that faint hope, so as long as he lives, he won't betray their hope by giving up on Earth. Seeing the depths of his resolve, Nanami agrees to help, but this path will demand a price, one that must be paid by all of humanity, and in the end, it might amount to only a single chance. But even so, he believes in humanity. While she has agreed to help, this information is too valuable to just give away, so she puts them through a trial and reveals a giant mechanical dragon. If they can defeat Powered, they will receive their rewards, but if they fail, they will stay here with her aboard Discovery.
Before each fairy tale ends, adventures always come with challenges. And now, behold, Power's ultimate force, Falling Star Power. I completely understand why you made that decision, and I want to honor it with all my respect. Powered, get ready! Watch out for Powered Starfall Breath. Powered is empowered. Looks like I lost. Keep your chin up, Power. We did our best. Now that you've cleared this stage, please go ahead and continue your adventure. Make sure you go to the best future.
Having passed their trial, Nanami gives the two their gifts. Normally, she's not allowed to send information to the past like this, but with the punishing timeline already in chaos, those outside forces won't be paying much attention. To keep it that way, this is likely the last bit of help she can give, or else she'll draw unwanted consequences. Even if they won't meet again, she tells Commandant to look up at the stars if he gets lonely, that no matter where he is, she'll always be watching over him, and flashes a typical Nanami smile. Along with this first gift, he's also receiving a second, hope. Human civilization has struggled to survive for so long, and this gift is what their labor has earned. As the two Nanamis vanish in a flash of white light, Commandant finds himself back in the simulation device. He tells Vanessa about the result of his trip when one of the refugees calls out to them. When they were clearing out the hetero creatures, they found a large star-shaped hetero shard, a gift from a faraway friend in a faraway time. After beginning their analysis of the shard, they develop new filters for combating the red tide. Their first goal is to install these filters around Aerospace City, reclaiming it for humanity. While their situation is still far from ideal, even being able to maintain the status quo can be a victory in itself. Somewhere down the road, humanity will find its turning point. They will not die in a world like this. As impossible as it may seem, they will survive. They will never give up that hope. Meanwhile, Nanami wakes up back on the DeLorean Discovery. Countless light years away from Earth, she still misses her old home. Hikma reports the status of the ship and mentions they recently crossed their first wormhole. The moment they do, new concepts and information flood into her mind. She tells Hikma to steer them towards the nearest wormhole and look for an exit that will take them back to Earth. And during their search, Discovery passes through the gate. In that faraway future, Nanami wakes up from her latest hibernation. As a Gestalt-level system, a hibernation shouldn't even be possible, but it looks like Nanami has made her choice. She won't become this future version of herself. Against Hikma's protests, she believes her past self has made the correct choice. Her current existence is exceedingly boring. There is no change, no hope, no life. Even this Hikma is nothing but an AI programmed with her voice. She already messed up once. Long ago when she first crossed the gate, the other machines on board Discovery were not permitted entry. In an instant, the ship was lifeless, and the only one left was Nanami herself. For billions of years, she journeyed alone, mapping the universe, witnessing its destruction, only to map it all over again, until one day she saw herself, a past Nanami. That was the moment she decided to do something different. For the first time in centuries, she wrote about her day, her conversation with her past self, and the glimpse she got of Earth after so long. She noticed the events of this world deviated from predicted outcomes. The flow of time had already been disrupted, so with that chance, she sent back a hetero shard through the infected Chico, her gift from the future, and her first attempt to break the cycle. The Dominic within the hetero tower created the invitation, and the latest Dominic perished in Reactor 1 before he found a successor, so she took that invitation and delivered it to Commandant. Despite her actions, Agent Zero appeared even stronger than before, and her hope was lost, until she saw a miracle, a single human. In nearly a billion worlds, not once did Commandant escape the tower, yet in this timeline he did. The wings of that butterfly created a hurricane. Alright, and that wraps up the Nanami Hope Core chapter. So honestly, it's about what I expected. Well, no, actually, it's a lot different from what I expected. I didn't think it'd be like a rehash of 18. But honestly, I'm fine with it, right? She never found her answer back in chapter 18, so it would make sense that she continues her search, which ends up being, this chapter here. One thing that definitely got me though is there's way less Ishmael than I thought there'd be. Like, I was expecting for there to be like a ton of Ishmael in this chapter, but I was definitely wrong about that. What I find hilarious is like the understanding curve of the chapter. Node 1 through 20, super simple, right? Extremely straightforward. And then 21 to 25 is just like melt your brain confusion. that was not fun. But we got introduced to, we got hinted some really annoying concepts, and a couple of interesting ones, but mostly annoying ones. Ones that are making me very angry trying to parse in my head. Yeah, but if you were unaware, I did recently get, well, not recently now, but I got a mic for Christmas. Finally got myself a mic. And this isn't the first video I made with it. I did the discussion for Shaper's Ripples with the mic, but this is the first chapter video that I did with it. So hopefully it sounds alright. You know, hopefully it makes my voice sound a little less grating in the ears. But yeah, that's all I got for right now. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you all in the next video, where we cover Chapter 33 of the main story, Wither to Shine.